And welcome back everyone to the Rampage channel. Hope everyone's having an awesome day. Whatever you watch watching this, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. And today I want to show you guys a game that I found yesterday and saw played yesterday. That was one of the craziest games I've ever seen, and it happened over the board at a real tournament. Not between two 500s or two 1300s, but between two masters. So let's get into it. You're going to see queens flying around. You're going to see kings completely without any support. You're going to see blunders. You're going to see chaos. Let's get into it. With the white pieces, we have Viktor Matviation. I don't know how to say that. Sorry. For those of you who know how to say that, tell me how to say that. And Anish Vivekanandan with the black pieces. So we get d4 to start off, and this was in the Southwest Class Championships, and this is the game played yesterday. So I mean, you're gonna see. Knight f6, c4, g6. So we get a kind of a King's Indian with a intention. But either you play the King's Indian when you play g6, or you play the Grunfeld, which is what Anish tries to do this time. Now the main lines go like this normally. You've seen this played by so many masters. Actually, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave loves this sort of setup with white, and black just tries to hit the center via all these possible opportunities, while white just kind of bolsters the center and says, if you want to win the pawn, like oftentimes you can just sacrifice one of the pawns because you're just gonna either get it back or you're gonna get a lot of tempo with it, right? There's a lot of different things to consider, but Viktor tries to play sideline, and he does. He plays bishop d2. And the point of bishop d2 is actually, if they play bishop g7, you play e4, takes, and you take back with the bishop instead of the pawn. We normally take back with the pawn, but now you have the option to take back with the bishop, and you bolster your center of c5. You know, sometimes you can play takes. It's easier to guard when it's a bishop. So a lot of things to consider, but Anish tries to play knight b6, which is a sideline, and he thinks for quite some time. He thinks for 7 minutes, and he plays a sideline, knight b6. We get e3 because he needs to guard the d4 pawn, bishop g7, and so far so good, right? The players are developing their pieces, a little bit unorthodox, but he's going to aim for c5, castles, so far so good. And here, instead of developing his knight, or developing his bishop, or, you know, queen a little bit, Viktor says, nah. And he puts h4, and the point is that he just wants to attack h5, and, you know, there's a lot of these Leela-esque ideas, let's just say a couple of random moves, where you actually lock in this bishop to f8, and you play like knight h3, knight g5, and you just kind of build off that pawn on h6, or I guess not knight at h3, but knight f3 and knight at g5, and a lot of different ideas, right? But that's just one of the ideas, and Anish senses that an h5 is going to come, and he plays h6, because he wants to meet h5 with g5, and he wants to lock down this part of the board. And, you know, he's going to try for knight d7 and c5 plans on the queen side. This is going so far so good. Viktor plays f4 because he wants to play h5, and if it's met with g5, then takes, and the pawn is now weakened, right? And a knight f3, if you do play f6 trying to guard it, it's really not that simple because now g6 is weak, and you're not going to castle very easily. And my h pawn is now passed. It's a free pass pawn. So a lot of different things to consider. And here, Anish plays c5, and I don't really know what the point was. And neither did Viktor, because he just took the pawn, and he didn't think when he took the pawn. He saw c5 and he said free pawn, and he took it. And we get knight d7 because now Anish actually, I guess, wants to play. Sorry, he wants to play knight c5 and recuperate the pawn via going in d3 with his knight. Smart plan, knight e4 from Viktor, trying to guard this pawn, but he does relinquish the guard of b2, which is what Anish snap takes. And now we get rook b1, bishop back to g7, and knight f3. Now if we take account of the position, 12 moves have gone in. Both players have around an hour on their clock still. Nothing so crazy still, but you guys are going to see what's going to happen. But white has a clear advantage, and the reason why white has a clear advantage is you guys might think the material's equal, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns for white, and 5 pawns for black. But, sorry, 6 pawns for white, 6 pawns for black. But the activity of the piece is what shines white's position. Bishop c4 is going to happen soon, and you attack f7, the knight is going to come in, and the problem is this knight is very unuseful, or is not useful, and white, sorry, this is just my mouse. White is just going to White is just going to play bishop f7, queen b3, and there's a lot of different attacking ideas. So we get knight f3 and we get b6, which is the first real inaccuracy from Anish, because now he allows h5. Because now if g5, which is what he plays, I can actually just take that. This is a free pawn. But what he tries to claim is, okay, if I just left a pawn on g6, you would take it, you would play bishop d3, and you would just aim for my pawn. Now if I play g5 and you take, you don't have any easy access, right? If you take, I'm just going to take back, the pawn is a loner. You're up a pawn, but I'm going to play bishop b7 and try to get this tempi back. And the point is for Anish is that if you move the knight back to f2, knight c5, you're going to recuperate the pawn. And black has some activity here, like black's position should not be slept on. We got queen c2 trying to guard the e4 knight, queen c7, and now we get g6. And we get g6 because he wants to soften up the right side of the board. And if you can get gf7, that's awesome because, for example, black's king, I mean, it's just getting toasted. The sacrifice is like knight g5 in the realm of possibility, and like things like this with knight g5 and knight e6, and the position gets very, very ugly. The g7 bishop's hanging, like, it's very bad for black. So Anish sees all that, and he puts f5, and he's like, okay, Victor, now you have to move your knight, and now I'm just going to recuperate the c5 pawn. I might lose the f7 pawn, but I have rook f8 if I ever need it, and life is good. And exhibit 1, ladies and gentlemen. Anish moves the pawn to f5. And Victor sees that the knight is hanging via the bishop and the pawn. And he says, nah. Queen c4! And it's not much of a sacrifice, but queen f7 is coming. He missed this idea. And now, this is actually what happens in the game. We get fe4, queen f7, king d8, and now queen g7. And now the h8 rook's hanging. So now, Anish has to move it, right? You have to move it, and maybe knight g1. But if knight g1, there's queen g3, so it's not as easy as you think. cb6 can be thrown as an in-between move. So many different possibilities, right? Anish gives a check on g3, which is actually very smart because now king d1 is going to happen, which is what Victor plays. And Anish has to play rook f8 here. That's just the only move because the rook's hanging on h8. Seeing that his rook on h8 is hanging, ef3! What? The rook is just hanging, dude. And he takes the rook. Queen c7. There's no plan for white, because if white tries to check and just go belligerently after black's king, knight c6, and now the rook on, the queen on h8 is hanging via the rook on a8, and now fg2. The position is getting crazy already. And here, only GMs can find this move. Seeing that the queen is offsides, seeing that the pawn is going to promote, not pushing that pawn, not bringing in this rook, not bringing in this rook. Bishop e1. What? Because now if you take on g2, it's actually check. This is check. Because now you can't do anything. So now Anish has to back up to g4, and he's like, okay, well, this is still very easy. I'm just going to play rook h4, which is what Victor plays. And now you have to go back to e6 or go back to f5, which is what Victor thinks. fg2! Nah, I don't have to move my queen because now takes, and now you promote to a new queen. Because now it's 2 pieces for the rook, but now the queen is coming in, the bishop's coming on the light squares, but this pawn is just going to promote also. What is going on? And Victor finds the only move with 2 minutes on his clock, king d2. Because now queen d3 is coming, and now that's stopped, because if you play knight c5 aiming for queen d3, now you allow this check on e5. Because now if the king moves, you can actually play rook d4 now, you guard d3, and now g7, g8, and position's going bananas, but white is actually winning here. He finds this move with 2 minutes on his clock. Anish plays queen f5, and he has 23 minutes on his clock. Victor has 2. So it's complete pandemonium. Instead of guarding both of these rooks, he goes full crazy mode. He plays bishop g3 check. Now, you know, the king's more important than the 2 rooks. We get e5 as the block for Anish. I mean, what is happening? The rook is unguarded, and now this rook is unguarded. But wait. You can't actually guard both of those rooks, because now bishop g3 meant that rook g1 doesn't guard the g4 rook, But it kind of does, right? Because you play rook g1, queen g4, I have bishop e5 check. And if you take, I take, and then I recuperate the queen, right? At the end of that combination. So what's happening here? So here, this is move 27, and he finds rook g1 with 16 seconds on his clock. He uses 3/4 of his time, probably more, to play rook g1, because now you can't actually take on g4. What is happening? G7 is also coming. So now Anish plays knight a6, and now he's attacking the h8 queen. But now knight c5 and queen d3 are coming. So seeing that the queen is under attack, he plays g7! G7! What? Because now if you take the queen, I actually make a new queen. I get rid of that rook. And if you play knight c5, well, I mean, I have an extra queen. I can sack material because now rook g7 is incoming, queen g7 is incoming. I'm going to try to force a queen trade no matter what I can do. And but now he plays g7. And time's of the essence here, because here Anish has 22 minutes. He has 22 minutes to figure this out, while Victor on the white side has 14 seconds. 14 seconds. Like, imagine you had 14 seconds to play this position. We would all lose. Because now g7, and, I mean, what's going to happen? This rook on g4 is just hanging. First of all, the queen is hanging, but we established that you cannot take it. So what is Anish going to do? This is move 28, by the way, so they get extra time on move 40 on Southwest Class Championships. This is the open section. Round 2. What is going on? But now knight c5, and now queen d3 is incoming because he actually doesn't have to take it. And if you take on a8, thinking, oh, I'm just gonna queen, you have problems. Queen d3, queen c3, bishop e4 is incoming, queen e3 nonetheless, and queen g1. Like, and now the two pieces are actually very formidable because now queen g1, and actually not queen g1 here, but like bishop e4. And the two pieces are just going to swarm your position. Knight c5. Played in 30 seconds. 30 seconds he plays knight c5. This is the level difference. It's insane. And Victor, with 14 seconds on his clock, finds one of the only moves for white to still be in this game. Not moving this rook, this bishop, this rook, or this queen, or promoting, by the way. I mean, this is just a queen, by the way. Like no one cares that that's a queen, because queen d3, and I mean, apparently this queen means nothing, because apparently you're just getting checkmated. E4, because now you can't actually get the queen into d3. So Anish takes on e4. He thinks for half his time. Finally, and he plays knight takes e4. 12 minutes for black, 6 seconds for white. 6 seconds to make the next 7 moves. Wait, they have some increment, but like, this is insane, guys. He has to use that 30-second increment to find the best move, and he finds e4. We get knight e4 from Anish, and now he sacks the rook. He sacks the rook because now queen e4. I'm promoting! There are 2 queens on the board. This king is stripped from all his pieces. This bishop's gonna come in. Rook takes g8, queen takes g8. That's the blunder! Rook g8 was the blunder. Apparently, sorry, g8 queen. That's the mistake. Apparently, you had to throw in rook c1 check. Because now this king has nowhere to go. It has nowhere. If you play bishop c6, I take on c6 because you can't take with the king, because my queen skewers taking the rook, and now white's up a queen. I don't know what just happened. White's up a queen now. So he has sacks his rook, and apparently you have to go rook c1. He doesn't find it. g8 queen, he doesn't find it. And Anish has 12 minutes to figure out this position. He has 12 minutes. Minutos. To figure out this position, and 5 seconds for Victor to make the next 7 moves with 30-second increment. Insane pandemonium. Rook g8. Wrong move. You had to play queen d4 check. And apparently now bishop e4, and you're just getting swarmed in on this whole diagonal. Rook g8, queen g8, bishop f3, checkmate. What? This is just checkmate, by the way. Rook g8, inaccuracy, because now queen g8. No, no, not queen g8, not queen g8, because now rook c1, check again. Rook c1, check again, and now this is check, because now if knight c5, you just take. You take, and now you take this apparently, or some you can't even. You don't have to take. You can take on e5. The point is that you take on e5, because now queen g8. What? What's the difference? Queen g8 played. Queen d4 check. King e2. 5 minutes for the black pieces and 5 seconds for white. 5 seconds. This is move 33. And with 5 minutes on his clock, Anish had to find... Sorry. Bishop a6. Because if you move to e1, this is check. And if you move to f3, I think there's e4. No, sorry, not e4. There's queen e3 check. And if you move g4, this is apparently a fork. This is what he missed. You had to give the a6 check with the bishop, because if king f3, queen d3, and the pieces just swarm. If you go king f2, that's mate. That's mate. Your own pieces wall in your escape, so you can't even escape. So you have to go king g2, but then you get swarmed in with this, and then queen e2, and then queen h5, and you're just getting mated. You're getting mated on that side of the board. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. With 5 minutes on his clock, Anish blunders and he plays bishop f3 check. What? What? The point is that now if takes, you take on g1, and now if you take, this is check. This is check, so you can't win the queen. Insane tactics. Move 35. What? And now the dust settles, and Anish is up 2 pawns. He's up 2 pawns. So now Victor has to guard against this. We got queen c4 check. Where's the king gonna go? If you go to d8, I'm just gonna deliver the same check. Good luck escaping. Queen c5. He comes back with the queen. Inaccuracy apparently, because now you have to take on c5. Down 2 pawns, you have to take on c5, because you can't take with the knight, because bishop e5 check. And if you take with the pawn, king e4, and king f5, and you run and you win this pawn, and somehow you get after the, I mean, this is insane. Actual insanity. With 5 seconds still left on his clock, he is playing on increment. Queen d3, no queen trade. What are you gonna do? This actually benefits black, because now queen c6 check. Where's this king gonna go? If you go to g4, I hit you with knight f6 check. Queen e4, he wants that queen trade, because if you get this queen trade, this is very beneficial, because now king f5, and I'm gonna win this h6 pawn, and I am gonna draw this, because my bishop's gonna guard against this. This knight has to sacrifice for this pawn, and with 2 pawns against the bishop, this is just gonna be fine. But you do have to know this endgames. These endgames, not to mention, white has 2 seconds on his clock. White has 2 seconds on his clock. Queen e4, queen e6, 3 moves, 2 seconds, 3 moves. This means that right now, he has to make a move. He has, like, 0.8 seconds to process the move that he just played. Like, this is insanity. You have no time to actually even think about what's gonna happen in your position. Queen g6. Because now if you take, we're 1 move closer to move 40. 1 second on his clock. 1 second on Victor's clock. But meanwhile, Anish has 2 minutes. Queen d5 check. King g4. He has to pre-move in his mind that he has to play king g4. Queen d1, king h3. Queen f1, king h2. Queen e2, king h3. Queen e3, queen c2. 40 moves are reached. I mean, I had a heart attack watching this game. 40 moves are reached, extra 30 minutes. What is going to happen? Queen c2 check, king d6, queen d6 check. Where's he gonna go? If you go to c7, I get another check. You could hide on b7 maybe, but then queen g2 check. Look at this triangle. If queen c2, queen g2, and going queen c6, and I mean you're getting checked on like completely different sides of the board. Where are you gonna run? Where are you gonna run? Apparently, queen b6 was the mistake. You had to play knight c5 because now I have queen h7, which is probably allowing queen h7. Now king c6. And apparently you run to b5. You run to b5 and you hide out on a5. Complete insanity. Complete insanity. No, doesn't happen. He reaches move 40. 30 minutes for both sides. They have 30 minutes to find out this position. Queen g6 check. King d5. Yeah, I'm just going to keep running from this side of the board. This game is not over yet. Queen f7. King c6. Queen g6. King c7. Queen c2. Wait, we just had this position, but I told you knight c5 is the best move. He finds it! He finds it, he repeats once, and he finds it. Sorry, 1 second. He finds knight c5. Queen h7 check. And he finds the way to guard their king to run forward. No, king b5. It was king b5 and then king a5. He didn't find it. King d5, but now you allowed queen f7 check, and you can't actually run to d4, or can you? Because now bishop f2, that's pinned. That is pinned. The position is equal. The position is equal because he ran to d4 and now queen a7. Ladies and gentlemen, the position is equal. 51 moves. b5, queen f7, e4, queen f6, check, check. Queen f4. I'm forcing you to trade queens, or you lose h6 pawn. And Anish says, no, I cannot trade queens because you're going to win my h6 pawn. And what's going to happen is, guys, that this is just going to be a draw. Because what's going to happen is that white is going to sack for this pawn. And if black goes over here, for example, white is actually just gonna either promote, or black has to give up for this pawn, and white is going to be in time to guard this pawn. Insane. And imagine you have to calculate all that from, like this position. You have to calculate that in a king and pawn endgame, you are going to come back fast enough. Insane. This game is not over. Queen f7, king c3, queen f6, king b4. Can he find it? Queen f4, now queen e2. He gives up h6 because now he gets a2. This is insane. h5 versus b5, e4. Who wins? I'm going to tell you guys something. It's much easier for the h6 pawn to promote. Because now you move the queen aside and you just roll it down the board. You roll the dice down the board. Queen g7. That wasn't really the best move. Apparently queen g6. But then queen e6 check might have forced queens. Was that what necessary? Apparently this is an easy draw because now king g4. But again, I mean, literal like craziness. Now, by the way, the 20 minutes the 20 minutes have not become 20 minutes anymore. 7 minutes for black, 5 minutes for white. Queen g7. He finds one of the best moves still. Queen e6 check. King h4. 2 minutes 49 seconds for Viktor Maliechev. Queen f5. h6. I mean, good luck even trying to follow the game. Knight e6. Sorry. Queen e7 check. King b3 h7. h7, and I'm gonna queen, and Anish finds the only move. The only move for him not to be losing. Knight f8. Wait a minute. This is losing. How do you guard against how do you guard against g6? I'm getting coughs just watching from this. How do you guard against g6? You promote to a knight. 25 seconds left, and he finds the only move. Roman promotes to a knight because now knight g6. You just take. This game is insane. But now knight g6 takes, and queen c5, and both players had enough. And Viktor offered a draw because this is just going to be a draw. Because what's going to end up happening is black is going to try to guard these pawns, and queen versus queen and bishop is actually just a theoretical draw. It's not forced, like a forced draw, like knight and 2 knights against the king is, but at this level, like, even if you win both of the pawns, let's just say, like, this happens. Let's just say this happens. Like, this position happens. You're just never gonna win, because the problem is, well, black is just gonna keep on checking, and like, this is just gonna be terrible. So you can't actually win. Queen c5. Victor offers a draw, and Anish accepts. Ladies and gentlemen, 65 moves of absolute insanity. It started with the calm Grunfeld that turned into an attacking game. B2 hung for c5. Now, white started the kingside attack, sacked the pawn from black, queen c2, queen c7. He sacked the knight for the bishop, and he sacked the rook on h8. Now bishop e1, queen g4, rook h4, because now bishop fg2, and now he promoted to a new queen. But then, it was because bishop g3 check, and you had to find knight a6, g7, protecting but also sacking his own queen, knight c5, ignoring everything, finding the only pawn push, 6 seconds for white. Absolute insanity. And if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know. I mean, I enjoyed it just covering it. And to all of you guys who think you guys play chess crazy, I mean, you've seen nothing. And this is just a game that I wanted to share to all of you to just show that, I mean, chess is not forced draws anyway. I mean, maybe at the top level it is, but unless you're like 2700 plus, you're gonna get games that are absolute cinema. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care and happy 14th. Rain Pigeon out.